Okay, I think we're, at least my voice is live. I've got a still image up there. We're going to wait a couple of minutes to get started here. Somebody can give me a thumbs up that they hear me okay. That would be terrific. Excellent. Thanks, thanks Michael. Thanks Jay. Be starting here in a couple of minutes. So just wait and see if this is, just want to check that the audio is coming through. So just I'm going to keep talking here for a minute until maybe somebody on the chat can let me stick my overlay up there. Okay, here I am. Maybe somebody can in the chat. Oh, good, Jay. Thank you. Hearing okay. I hear you, George. Good, good. That's good to hear. And hopefully the level's okay. I think on my end, I see everything is looking a-okay. I'm just going to check the health, stream health. I think everything should be it's lower than recommended bit rate. Recommended use. Okay.
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Okay, you might see me now.
I can see you now.
It's a little bit of a delay. Yeah, so that's my wife is monitoring in the house there. So yeah, there's probably about 30 to 40 second delay between what I'm recording and what gets streamed to you folks. So status is good. I guess that's okay. So I'll keep that up. Okay, well we're on the 2 o'clock hour. So Rich Ellery, thank you, Rich. I got your voicemail. I'll give you a call after the live stream here. So good to see you on. Kathy from New Mexico, great. And okay, video, okay, good. Oh, Bob Leonard, yeah, Frugal Vacuum Chuck. Good to see. Well, not really see you, but hope to see you again soon, and maybe if SWAT is on. So and Phil. Good. So I've gotten some good people on. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys joining in. I'll try and monitor the chat as I go, and I've got several camera views here, so we'll go through them as we move on. So what we're going to do today, let me remove myself here. Woodturning live stream. This is my second live stream, so I hope to do more. And this one we're going to turn a sphere. So on the slide there, you see a Paduke sphere. It's one of the spheres I did a whole series of spheres with some Paduke is kind of a nice reddish brown wood, and it's got some open grain, so it takes a cream filler quite well. And if I do this right, I think there it is. It's a larger picture of it. So the open pores are able to accept cream fillers, and this one is filled with the gold. So it's a gold cream filler. You can get all kinds of different colors. So. But it really stood out. So I've got several of these, and these are probably 2 3/4, 2 7/8, somewhere in there in diameter, almost baseball size. Baseballs I think are 2 7/8 to 3 inches, something like that. So we'll try and do something like that. So this Paduke sphere, and then this one is walnut. This one is kind of interesting. It's got half heartwood, half sapwood. And if you let it roll, it's always going to end up with the brown side down because that's more dense and heavier. So it's a wobbly ball, but it's perfectly round. Let's see. This is an oak ball. Looks nice and round that way, but if you look at it the other way, not quite so round. This one was turned when it was wet, and it just went and you can't see me on the screen there. So. This ball, when it was round, it shrunk up to an ovoid. It had a big crack in it when I first turned it because I turned it wet, and then it shrunk and sealed that crack. So you can see just right in the middle, you can see where the crack might have been and sealed itself up. So if you turning wet wood, expect that. Expect it to crack or to deform in shape, and sometimes that is kind of attractive. So, and if it does crack, don't throw it out right away. Just let it be for a couple of weeks, and you may get lucky, and that'll heal right back up. And then what do we got here? Oh, that's wrong me. That's me in the corner. And that was it for the pictures I had. So let's get started here. So I've got camera 2 is an overhead camera, so we'll be using this one a lot. And then I've got a let me turn this off. I've got camera 3, which is a tailstock camera, so that'll give some good close-up action as to what we're doing here. So and then we can do a little, let's see, that's the wrong one. There we go. Oh, wrong one. There we go. So I'll do a little picture-in-picture, and I can move the camera over a little bit the other way, so you can kind of see both angles at once. So, and we'll get going. This is a block of cherry. It's 3 by 3, and it was by 12. Cut it down for some other purposes. It's probably 5 inches or thereabouts, and just started turning a cylinder. That's what we'll do first. So this the way I turn spheres is by hand with a few homemade, measuring jigs and stuff like that. So it's a great practice for me personally, as to look and see form and shape, and to let me put myself down in the corner there. Oops, I gotta work on my switches here, and oops, not that one, this one, and camera 1. Oh shoot, hang on, got all that screwed up. There we go. Sorry about that. So this is where I'm working on bugs and how to set all this up. But I'll get there. It's all macro driven. So anyway, but this project is fun because it allows you to kind of see a good spherical shape and be able to practice turning that shape, because it's used all over the place, beads and even coves to get the reverse of that, and then all kinds of bowl shapes and stuff. Get a nice form and curve to your turning. So, and then it's good for practice cuts. You'll see as we go why I call it practice cuts. So let's jump in and let's get this one going. So let me turn that off and put this that one back up in the corner. So first off, we're going to round this over. We're going to use a roughing gouge to round it over. I'm going to put on my faced eye goggles, just protect my eyes. I have this between centers. This is a safe drive center on this side. It's just a cone and tip, very similar to what is on the tailstock side. So if you have it a little loose, this you can turn this on and the block won't spin. You tighten up the tailstock and it grabs. So that's nice if you do get a catch. Then you're not having the wood take your tool away. You can just stop the turning like that. Crank up the tailstock pressure, and away you go. So we'll turn this up, and we'll start turning and roughing. So turn around 2,000 RPM. I want to start at the highs and go off to the end. So my handle is down, and I am taking off a little bit at a time, and I'm kind of smoothing out to that diameter that's already round. So we work from high to low on spindle turning, and when I get to this end, I'm going to go off the other corner. And that is to prevent your tool, sorry, I'm eating chips, tool from slipping off the end. So I hold my tool up here just to see if I'm round. I still got a little bit of a bump. So we're pretty round. We got a little flat right there, and probably just a little bit run right there. So we're pretty close. So let's do one last pass. I'm going to move the tool rest a little closer, and probably raise it up. The other thing I should see is I've got this cutting board down here, and it's trapped between my tool rest. It's really just for viewer benefit to kind of get a bit of contrast to the turning, so you can kind of see what's happening with from the down view. It saves you from looking at the lathe beds and all that stuff down there. So there we are, nice and round. Get a few chips off me here, and then the next thing we need to do is to figure out our diameter. And I've got a pair of calipers here. This is old vernier calipers. I don't use them that often. Well, for sizing things when it's running, I only use it when, sorry, it's the opposite. I use these old ones for sizing things when the lathe is running. Otherwise, I've got some nice new ones that I tend to use. So. That's about it there. We're just over 3. So one of the things I've created, and one of the things that'll help us with this, is just a little template. So this is a 3-inch template. So it doesn't quite fit there. You can see on the end view we've got a gap still. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit till we get to 3 inches, and that way I can use this and stuff. So, and I've got several of these in different sizes and stuff. So depending on what size you're turning, take a drill bit, force a bit, drill out some thin plywood, and make yourself one. It's going to come in handy for not only this, but you'll see we'll use it later as well. So let's take just a little bit off here. That looks pretty good. So we're going to go down to that diameter. So, and then camera can see that. So. Before I do this, one of the things I want to do is just straighten out my tool rest so it's parallel. That'll help me make this get that to 3 inches all the way along. Perfect. Okay, so this block is a bit big for the project we really need. We only need a couple inches longer, maybe an inch and a half longer than the diameter we're going to turn. So we're going to waste a bit here, but that's fine. First, I will make a center mark. I'll check. I don't have any knots or anything to avoid, so we'll just arbitrarily put it somewhere in the center. And then we will go to 1.5 inches on our caliper and mark where did that go? I lost my way. There we go. 1.5 inches. And I'll hold this point right on that line, and oops, I'm not making a mark there. There, and same thing here. Those 2 lines. That's way off. What did I mark there? Oh, I think I had 1 3/8. That would make a difference, wouldn't it? Okay, ignore those ones. Let's do that again. So here we go. There we go. That's a bit better. And let's just measure that, just for sake of it, eh? So we got 3 inches between those 2 outer lines. So I'll mark those. And that one there. That one there. So now we've got the boundaries of the sphere in there, and so we're going to turn away, waste this wood away, and do it step by step and do practice cuts. So now that we've got those set, those lines, what we want to do is make sure we have our tool rest in the right location, because it's not going to move for the rest of the turning. So, and I'll show you why in a second here. So I'm lining up here. I'm going to try and get that as close as I want to. I don't want it so close that I can't get my tool on the rest. And I probably want to raise this up a little bit for most of my tools. The main tool I'm going to use is this little, well, not little, half-inch spindle gouge, and it's got a nice dual bevel on there, swept back wings, and I want to be able to turn comfortably so I can get at the middle of the turning. So I'm a little high, so I think I'll go back down just a little bit. There we go. And that looks comfortable to me. The next thing to do, sorry, camera 2 got bumped, or camera 3, is we are going to put some blue tape on our tool rest here, because we are going to mark those marks or transfer these marks onto the tape. And this is reference, and I put it below where my tool actually goes. And I'll take a Sharpie and I'll just kind of eyeball whereabouts. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I have 2 black marks on the tape down showing where these marks are. So now that that's done, we shall waste away a little bit of wood. So I'm going to turn these outer cylinders down to an arbitrary diameter. I'm using a beading parting tool. This is a double bevel tool, and it's almost like a Badan, but not. So, if that helps. Okay, so peel away some wood. This end I'm going to peel down quite a ways just to get out of the way. And peel it down about there. Same thing on this end. Okay, so I have made, I'll make this one just a little bit more. So this is the start of my process for turning spheres. Is I'll turn this diameter down and this diameter down to about equal, and then that tells me, gives me an area for doing practice cuts on this end. So what I know is if I was to take this diameter and stick it over top of here, then I would have this distance here equal to this distance here, and this distance here equal to this distance here. So those 2 marks are roughly, let me just mark those. Can't see that. So this gives me a target. So I want to round this perfectly spherical from this side, from this line to that edge. And why? Because it's practice. It's practice to kind of get used to using the tool, rolling it over, and making that motion. It's practice for your eye to see that curve. And so I do this step by step all the way down. When I get to the final thing, my form looks pretty good. So that's where the practice cuts come in. So does everybody kind of get the idea of this distance and that distance, and why it's because if I was to measure this here, it would be about this diameter. So that's just eyeballing it. So so that's really the way I go about doing this. So this gives me practice cuts on this side. So I should meet from this line down to that interface. And I'm just about there. I didn't quite make it, so I'll go back and there you go. So now I've got a nice edge on that side, and now I do this side. I don't know about other people, but I'm not ambidextrous, or I can't switch hands very easily and do it. So I have to move my body out of the way and do the other side. So I'm always better at one side than the other. So I stick my foot on the other side of the lathe leg and go to this side. Because this handle has to swing into my body. And I'm going to stick some light over there. And maybe see if you can see that a bit better. There we go. So now we got two fairly even rounded edges here. And this is the start of our sphere. So this is, for me, a way that I go about doing spheres. It's good practice cut. It's the way I teach it, because it really gives the students an idea of practicing those cuts. So we'll go down another 1/2 or 3/8 or so. And this is where the lines on the tool rest help guide your tool to see where you need to plunge. So, because you lose that line and you don't know where the heck you are. So you need some reference point, and that's what those are for. So I'll come back over here where that line is, just on the outside. It's really about there. And I'm just eyeballing these diameters, make sure they're kind of even. This one needs to go a bit further. Yeah, looks pretty good. The other thing to keep in mind is, and why the reference lines are nice to have there, is this edge will start to wander on you as you go through, and you'll end up with a wider ball than you do of a diameter this way. So you always make sure you cut in true and square on these edges. So next phase, so let's draw our reference lines just to kind of be sure. So that diameter, so we've got, we're probably about, I'm guessing about there. Let's just do a quick and dirty measurement. It's almost 1.5 inches there. So we are, if I center that roughly, yeah, we're about at those lines. So we will take those lines, reference marks, and cut those down to the depth there. So a little bit more speed. I'm still okay. I got excellent status on my live stream health. Okay, other side. I'll move my foot. There we go. It's all about practice cuts. So that's looking good. That's looking a little funky. So we'll go again. Line up with my mark. And I do this all between centers. I don't chuck anything up. No need to, I don't think, with this kind of turning. I do need to get this light more in the center. I hope that's not blowing you out too much. Okay. Okay. Oops. Hit the camera again. Okay, so where are we at now? I think we're probably about there. So those are my targets from that line down to that diameter. So I'm going to make a little switch here. I'll put camera 3 there and camera 2. I wanted it up there. I'm going to move this camera in a bit closer. Get you a nice close-up view of my tool in action. I'm going to stop that camera shaking. Oh yeah, I'll wait till it stops. Okay. So hopefully the video quality is good on your end. So just, I touch the bevel, I slightly raise the handle till I get a whisper coming over. The handle raises and goes to my right as I come around the corner. So that's the action. And if we take a look at it from a wide view, I'll take you out here. If I can move that way. Hang on. Houston, we have a bit of a problem. Hang on. Just about fixed it. There we go. There we go. You'll see the handle swing on this this pass. And it'll show you. So the handle's low, bevel's straight up facing me. I raise the handle ever so slightly till I get that whisper going. It turns and lifts and dives to the center as the flute rolls. There's a bunch of movements all at once. So let me move this camera back. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of the camera, the tool movement as we're going through this. I'm going to switch back to camera 2 here, camera 3 there, and we'll zoom in, and we'll take it over this way a little bit. And I do want to get, bear with me a second as I move my light. There. So let's see this side. So this is where my foot has to go on the other side of the lathe headstock, and we're going from this line all the way down to that. I'm also looking at my horizon, and if I look at this, I see a high spot right there, and one right at the very bottom there. So I am going to try and cut those parts and skim over the rest. That looks a little bit better. I can always come back and shear scrape with this tool, even some of those out. This side is not the easiest for me to get, because I have to move my body so far out of the way and my eyesight so far off to the side of the turning. Yeah, I gotta do one more cut here. It's a bit better. It's pretty good for now. So now the next phase, we go down even thinner. Let's see. Let me widen this out and take you back over this way. Okay. I'm just checking the chat. Still the same people, so we're good to go. If you got any questions, throw them up in the chat, and we'll try and answer them as we go. So I'm on my tape mark on my tool rest. How thin do we dare go? Well, that's a good question. That's my own question. So now we are only about there. There, somewhere in there. Next one. Is that in picture? Yeah. Move this just a little bit closer. Okay, that shouldn't be in my way. I fell out of the cut, so I'm coming back to pick it up. Over there a little bit. Maybe I'll do camera 3, camera 2 up there. That's a pretty good cut. I like that one. Okay, now come over to camera 3. This side now. There we go, we're starting to look like a ball. So now we basically, I don't know if I want to go much thinner right now on those. So I'm going to pretend that this goes down to nothing. So as I cut this stuff up here, can you see that mark? Yeah, you can. I'm going to kind of fall off the cut, or no, dig in the cut. So I'll leave a little, you'll see a little ledge start up forming down at the bottom there. Let's hope that's what happens. So let's go back to camera 3 and camera 2 up there, and we'll cut from this, almost the center, down to there, and we'll make this a full sphere. Okay. How are we doing on time? 34 minutes in. Okay, that's good. Perfect. I really didn't do a good cut there. I'm going to scrape a little bit because okay. Let me, camera 2, camera 3, go to this side. Let us see how we're doing. So that is, it's pretty good. I'm actually a little small, so I may take a little off this diameter because I'm a little skinny there. I don't know how that happened. Take a little off the top. And we'll scrape. I'll scrape the high sides here. I'm looking at the horizon and seeing where I need to just take off a little bit. That's looking pretty good. So I think now we part this off or trim it down quite narrow and then put it in cup centers. Okay, so Cliff, thank you. So far, so good. Jay from Buffalo, what would be the best species for making croquet balls? Well, I don't. I think any sort of domestic hardwood would work. Definitely needs to be hard. Croquet balls are typically painted, so it's going to be protected that way. I would make sure it's dry wood, which is going to be kind of tough for the size of balls you have for croquet, because I think they're fairly big. And Beyond that, let's see, where am I at here? Let me turn that off, this on, camera 2. So Jay, yeah, so I think a domestic hardwood of some sort, cherry might even be fine, if you can find dry enough wood in your area that size, because they're going to be painted, so I think that would work well. So I haven't made anything that size. I don't know how big a croquet ball is. I kind of forget. I used to play. But the largest I've gone is about 4.5 inches, so that would work. So next, get me off here. Next stage is cutting these down a little bit thinner, and I'll just use the spindle gouge for that. So. You're getting, let me get the top right there. Some light on that. Okay. Now the other side. A little pointy there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we just lop those off with. I don't have my. This isn't the best tool for this, but I got a little handsaw here. I'd rather saw these off than break them off, and I just need to slack the. Otherwise, they will pull grain out the end. So. Okay. So there we have our ball. It's got two little nubs on it, and now we need to get those turned away and get this round. So it's not quite round, it's pretty close. Next step is to replace this with a, we can't see that. Replace this drive center with a cup center, and this one with a cup center as well. So let's do that. Knockout bar. Clean this off. This is getting kind of useless. I should have cleaned that off sooner. Okay. A little Morris taper, pine, cup center in there, and then a little cup center on that side. That's really all I use. So knock that in a little bit, and I will just touch that up a little bit. Camera 2 is a little bit in the way. true that up a little bit. So that will go there. This will go there and just press fit. And I want this to kind of turn on axis. So that's pretty good. That's all it needs. Now to turn this away, I can move my tool rest now. I don't have to worry about that tape. I can take that off. Don't need that anymore. And we can turn this away with this tool. We'll just keep using it. You could use a scraper, whatever you're comfortable with there. And use OK. You can see a bit of ghosting. You can see the nub there. So that's what we're kind of going after. You know, this is grain orientation is oh, there we go. Somebody, Richard, yeah, just talked about it. So just as I was looking at this, I thought, okay, so we were turning in spindle orientation. The grain was this way. Let me pull this out. And cutting from high to low is really the way to cut. When I oriented this way, then now we got basically face grain. So you should cut from low to high to run with the grain. But you know, it doesn't really matter a whole lot right now. As long as you make nice light cuts, you're not going to knock out too much grain. And we're going to be sanding here in a little bit. But whatever you're comfortable with, you can go from low to high here. I think is probably the proper way to do it. For myself, it's not as critical at this juncture, but it's the right way to do it. And so I do go back and forth, so I'll end up sweeping both ways. And I think we're pretty good there. Let's see. Do I sand at this point or take it off the sand? So this is I'll sand between jam chucks here. So that's when we sand. So, but first we're going to cut this off because that's a little bit too much to sand. So, oops, that's a little too far out. Sometimes this doesn't settle quite right in the jam chuck, and you just gotta refix it. It's the inherent nature of this one here on this side is kind of being just sitting on that bearing. These are very light cuts. Still a bit of a bump there, but we're getting there. Our cut is almost all the way around. We've got a bit more to go, and we haven't cut anything here yet, so we'll keep going. We'll just scrape a little bit as well. That's perfectly acceptable. Now this is I'm sure a lot of people have the sphere cutting jigs that are sold on the market. Those work great if you're going to do a lot of spheres and you're not comfortable with this method. There's several methods of doing spheres. I've seen people use overhead imaging and that kind of stuff. So we're just about there, all the way around, except for this lump here. So a bit more, and we'll get going. There, we're all the way around pretty much. I've just got a little bump right there, but so at this point, I think this is when I would really start sanding. There's better turners out there that can get a better result than me at this point, but I think this is a good place to kind of stop and do that without putting a whole bunch of time and effort into getting it perfect. It's close enough that we can start sanding. So what I'm going to do is actually turn on my dust collector here. So you will hear a bit of a noise, but I've got this dust collector hood I can pull up here and hopefully get out of the way of the camera. And we will sand this guy. So I'm starting with 80 grit strip of paper. I love this Klingspor stuff. Turn the speed down. Probably under 1,000. I'll just right around 1,000. That seems about right to me. And I grab underneath. Oh, let me turn this guy on. So I pulled it up there. So that should grab all the dust out the backside. Hopefully you can hear me okay still. This Klingspor stuff, strip sandpaper, is just great stuff. I think I don't know what they call it, their gold stuff, but it lasts a long time. So I've just about got that top spot sanded out. Just keep going until that mark is gone. The cup centers I use as a softer wood. They're pine, so I use pine on those cup centers because they're nice and soft, and tend not to mark up the work as much. So this is my little practice ball I did just before this started. A little pine ball. It's about 1 3/4, 1 5/8, somewhere in there. So once I got it sanded, I don't see that bump anymore. It's right here. It's pretty much gone. I will move and reorient this a different way. You can stop the lathe like I did, pick it up, and I would turn it the other 90 degrees, which is this way. There we go. Just about got that confused for a second. Make sure that's in there, and turn it back on. That's wobbling, so that's not quite in there. Well, sometimes it centers itself when I have it held like that. Yeah, we'll just go with it. I think it's a little out of round, but going slow enough, the sandpaper will catch it. I think this tailstock center is just not working as well as I wanted it to. The other, oh, I forgot. I should show you this. I might have to actually cut this a bit more. This might be a little... Yeah, it's a lot bigger there. I think I did a very good job on this one, but yeah, it's just using my gauge here and checking. It's a little fat here on some parts. We're going to cut this ghost off a little bit more. Another reason I like wooden cups there is they won't damage your tool. Okay, let's try this again. Got that nasty burn mark. Don't think I'm going to get that out by sanding. Well, it gives you the idea of the process that I go through in terms of creating spheres. Just 80. $150 now. I think 180. Okay, okay, Chesney Shores, thank you. Sabrina, check out Vince's Wooded Wonders, makes great sanding set, one strip. Yep, I know Vince, see him at the shows all the time, so definitely a good source of sandpaper. And there was a question on when getting those burn marks for the spin, I decided to add burn embellishment and color. Yeah, that's a great idea, and it's something you can avoid if you stop the lathe and move it. But for the demo, I'm trying to speed through it. So, and I would recommend you stop the lathe and move it just like I did, rather than grabbing it when it's spinning. So, but. This is good practice, so I mean I hadn't, the last time I turned one of those Paduk spheres was probably I'm not sure, let's see, I think not that one, that one. Probably a year and a half, 2 years ago maybe, last sphere I turned, so it's good practice, and what I like it is getting the practice cuts to use the spindle gouge and to look at this form and shape. This the sphere is not perfect, but it's got a pretty good quality to it in terms of roundness. There's a little hump right here, and those burn. I got one burn mark left here to kind of get out, but this is a great thing to do some embellishing on, some burning, some coloring. So that's probably what I'll do with this one. I got another oak one over here that I turned a while ago. This has been in my box for a long time. So the sphere turning is a lot of fun. It's something that anybody can pick up and do. And you just need a little chunk of wood, and making these cup centers is dead simple. It's just pine, and I have that one floating on top. I would probably make another one here to actually spin on there, thread it in there and stuff. And making the Morse tapers to fit is easy enough, just 2x4 and some pine, and glue that in there at that side, and make yourself a cup center. So I think that's it I got for you today. So hope everybody kind of enjoyed. Thank you all for joining and stuff. I appreciate it. We're just over the hour mark, so if you have any questions or follow-up questions, please shoot me an email. Let me know. Todd at Woodturning Tool Store, and certainly come visit us on the website. I've added a section to the website called Explore Woodturning. It's one of the main menu items. Under there, you can see I've live streamed from this. In fact, I'm going to check that, make sure my website is live streaming. It should be, but under Explore and then third end down, live stream. And let's see, yeah, all the chat is showing up there. Oh, there I am. I can get, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from my speakers. So I'll just that. So you can go straight to the website and watch the live streams there. You can see all my YouTube videos now on my website as well. Would appreciate if you subscribe and like and hit the bell button so you get notified the next time I do a live stream. With this guy, I do have whether it's actually this one or another one I do have a project that this will go with. So this will be part one of, I think, a two-part project I got in plan for this sphere. So the next live stream will show I guess the partner piece to this, and you'll see how I intend to use this sphere. So I'll have it all cleaned up and sanded thoroughly and maybe colored, or maybe not. I'm not quite sure yet. So stay tuned for the next live stream. Should be probably in 1 to 2 weeks. You'll see a notification on the website. And again, if you subscribe, hit the bell button, you'll get notified. And I appreciate it. Let's see, George, it's Earth Day. You can do some coloring on it for the occasion. Yeah, I could do that. Paint the earth on it. So that's a good idea. Although I'm not that talented, but there are some talented people that can do that. Jim, thanks. Good demo. Janice, thanks. That was great. Kathy, terrific. I really learned a lot and appreciate it. Hi, say, HY says hi, yet he had to work. Okay, must be the other half. Thanks, Todd. Very well done. Thanks, Francis and Cliff. Looking forward to the second part. Yeah, so am I. So, appreciate everybody joining. Like I said, contact me if you got any questions, and watch out for the next one. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. Bye for now.